It is now November 29th at 3:01 p.m. and we have just arrived in the Devonian. On land, shrubs and plants had ran out of horizontal living space, so they started growing upward, resulting in our first true forests. With more plant matter and deeper roots, significant amounts of soil began to form which would support even more plant life. Bugs had gotten bigger, feasting on all the decaying plant matter. Early bugs couldn't digest fresh plant matter, so they had to wait for the bacteria and fungi to break it down first. The Devonian also marks the period of time when we see the first flying insects in the fossil record. The Devonian is called the age of the fish because this is when diversification of fish species happened. The development of jaws and four fins would be the catalyst for this diversification. Early fish did not have jaws, but the development of jaws allowed fish to consume new varieties of prey. This prey may have lived in different environments. Remember, as these newly jawed fish came into new environments, they would evolve or adapt to be better suited for their new environments. The evolution of a jaw would also cause changes in the skull, which would support and assist the use of the jaw for biting, chewing, and crushing. These changes would eventually give rise to two major groups of organisms that we will talk about later. 5 main groups of fish would evolve during the Devonian, of which only 2 still have living representatives. The 2 groups are the sharks and the bony fish. The bony fish group is broken down into 2 groups of its own, the ray fins and the lobed fins. Both groups have a lung in addition to their gills. When we think of a normal fish, we are thinking about a ray fin fish. However, and probably surprisingly to most, the direct ancestors to every single amphibian, reptile, mammal, and bird on the planet is the lobed-finned fish. The lobed-finned fish use their 4 paired fins not only to swim, but also to move around in shallow waters and eventually onto land. A tetrapod is an organism with 4 paired limbs and digits. These lobe-finned fish are the first tetrapods. For your information, we are all tetrapods. With the coevolution of the lung, we now have an organism that primarily lives in water but has the ability to cruise up on land. What group of organisms does this sound like? That's right, the amphibians. Most Devonian tetrapods were aquatic, meaning they still lived in the water. A few were making the transition to land during this time period, like Tiktaalik. Tiktaalik is pictured in the upper left-hand corner of the Devonian row. Tiktaalik had eyes on top of his head used for looking out of the water, lobe fins that gave him locomotion on land, and a head that moved independently of the shoulders, which would indicate the presence of a neck. It is not until the next time period that these tetrapods fully transition to land. By the end of the Devonian, plants capable of producing seeds appear in the fossil record. Another major extinction occurred in the late Devonian. Large trees had evolved on land, and the pulse in photosynthesis caused carbon dioxide levels to fall, cooling the globe. The extinction event occurred primarily in shallow tropical seas, so a number of trilobite and brachiopod species went extinct, and coral reef communities suffered as well.